everybody, Waiting Moose here. I am here to do a Vlogmas video. This one's going to be more vlog, less book. I wanted to talk to you about adopting our dog and cat, because Bailey is also an adopted pet. Here's her tail. She's always around somewhere. Random floaty cat tail. My husband had a dog when I met him. It was a purebred yellow lab. He was a wonderful dog. My husband did a great job training him. He was very calm. He, wasn't great on the leash all the time, but that was like his only flaw. He was just such a great dog. Everyone loved him. He was this perfect dog. But unfortunately, he passed away in 2015. Early in 2015, he passed away. Shortly before we had to have one of my cats put down. Anyway, that's irrelevant. See, cat head floating now. And there was a hole left in our house. I think that's the only way I can really put it. He was a big dog with a lot of personality, and we missed him. I missed having someone to take for a walk. I missed having somebody to curl up on my feet when I wasn't feeling good. I stayed home from work, and the only thing that curl up on my feet were cats, which they're great, but they just don't do the same amount of warming as a dog does. If you have a dog, you know what I'm talking about. If you have cats, you probably know what I'm talking about. So Tucker died. That was the name of our previous dog, and I was missing him. I think he died in March or April. I started looking for another dog a couple months after he died. Seriously, like I was jokingly looking before that, like, oh, look at his puppy, oh, look at it, but knowing that we weren't going to adopt any of those dogs. Eventually, we started looking a little more seriously. We started contacting some of the rescues in the area if we were interested in dogs, and we found that a lot of the rescues had made it hard for people to adopt. So the dogs that we were interested in, you'd talk to the foster family and they'd be like, oh, well, he needs 3 walks a day. Okay, but what are you talking about is a walk, right? Like, if he doesn't get 3 walks a day, but he gets a 5-mile run, is that good enough? But, it felt like often they put up boundaries to people adopting the animals, which, fair enough, they don't want them returned, but it made it difficult for us to adopt. I don't know what Hank's doing downstairs, but he's making noise, and you don't need to hear that while I do this. Anyway, so we struggled to find a dog. We went and saw several dogs, and each of them, you talk to the foster family, and it was almost like they didn't want you to adopt them. I understand. The more I read about this, the more I understand. There are a lot of bad people adopting dogs. There are a lot of people that don't understand the time commitment and what dogs need, and so they get protective of the animals because that's what they're there for. That's why they're doing this. And I can't blame them for that. I really can't. I've fostered dogs in the past, and I can understand wanting to have what's best for the animal. In the end, we started looking a little more closely at the Calgary Humane Society, knowing that often they have smaller, they have kind of they have a lot of herding dogs that come in there, a lot of Shelties, a lot of Border Collies, that kind of thing. And that's great. They're beautiful dogs, but they're very high energy, and we're not. And they have the odd lab-looking dog, but those get adopted really quickly, and then they have a lot of small dogs, and a lot of pit bulls, a lot of mastiffs come in because those are dogs that people get and then realize afterwards that, oh, maybe that's not the right dog for them, for whatever reason. Because not every dog is right for every owner. So we went a few times to the Humane Society, and they had this dog, and his name was Tookie, and he was this big black dog. And the first time we went in, he was on hold. Someone had put a hold on him, so we couldn't even go in the room to see him. But when you looked at the window, he would bark. And you've seen Hank, so he's this giant black dog with a giant black head, and he's bright white teeth, and he's barking at you and snarling, and he just looked mean. And I was like, I don't think he's that mean. And we went and we looked at some other dogs, and there just weren't any that were going to be right for us. Based on age, we didn't want a puppy, we knew, as experienced dog owners, we had a pretty good idea what we wanted. The one dog that we were interested in, which was a lab cross, was having some digestive issues, and so we were a little worried about that. It's not really something we wanted to bring into our house with the cat, and just both of us working, we don't have the time to deal with that. We ended up going home that night and saying, well, we'd watch, and if the hold came off of Tookie, the next day we'd go in and have a look at him. So we did. We went in and had a look at him, and we put a hold on him. No, we were going to adopt him right away. He seemed like a good dog for us. He seemed really calm. He seemed like everything we wanted. He was big. He didn't really seem overly, needy. And we thought, perfect. The barking thing is a bit of concern, but once we got him out of that room and into like a room that had glass all around, and we were in there with him, people could walk by and he didn't bark. We took him out into their yard on a leash and like walked him around, and he was great on the leash. And we thought, okay, he had some tricks. They showed us the one trick he has, which is a horrible, horrible trick. With kids around, we've learned. But basically, he'll sit, and then he'll sit pretty, which is funny with a 110-pound dog. He sits there and sits up and begs. And then you do this, and he comes up and hugs you. Yeah. Did that to my 12-year-old nephew. That wasn't so great. He pushed him into the wall. At least there was a wall behind him. He didn't actually tackle my nephew. But anyway, so we thought this dog looked relatively well trained. We understood that there was a reason he was in there, but overall we thought we could take a chance on him and see where it went. We were concerned, well, the day we went in the first time, they put a medical hold on him, so we could go in and see him, but he had some hot spots, so some skin infections. It turns out he's just obsessive. He scratches himself until he wears a hole in his skin, and then he gets infected, and that's what he is. But it's what he does. So we're trying to figure out how to deal with that the best way, but we weren't sure how he would be with cats. We decided to bring him home, and we told them, like, if he... we have 2 cats and we can't keep him if there's a problem with the cats. And they're like, absolutely, we understand that. You understand that you don't get your adoption feedback no matter what. And I'm like, understood. So we went home with him, and he was just a delight. He was like into the car, and everything he did was perfect. He was very curious about the cats. We discovered after we got him home that he's very prey driven. So we've been really lucky. He seems to not think the cats are prey, but he was very curious about the cats until he got tuned in a couple times. Met their claws. That definitely made things easier for the cats. And now he likes sniffing them, but he pretty much leaves them alone. We've had a few little growling, snarling things, but nothing too horrible. And he's just been this perfect pet. It was amazing, actually. He was 4 when we adopted him, so he's 5 now, and I don't understand why he was there. The only thing I can think is that whoever owned him before had a child, so they probably had him before they had a kid, and then once the kid got older, I could see Hank being a little jealous because he is quite needy, or I could see him knocking the kid over because he's quite large and he just bumps into things. That's what he does. You get used to it. So I'm not really sure why he was there. We renamed him from Tookie to Hank, obviously. And he was very loved before he got taken there. He is so well trained. He's awesome on a leash. Except the prey drive thing, he's taken off after a cat on me once and I couldn't hold him. But he's whistle trained, so as soon as you whistle, he comes back. And it's funny because we adopted this dog. And you feel like you're doing something great for this dog, or you're giving him a home. And he's been so great for us. But we have friends, and they have 2 teenage daughters. And these 2 teenage daughters really, really, really want a dog. And one weekend when the husband was here helping out in our yard, the wife and one daughter took Hank home. He like hopped in their car, and we're just like, yeah, you can if you want to take him for the day, take him for the day. So they took him home for the day, and he just hung out in their house. And, when he got bored of playing with the teenage daughter, he went and sat on the mom's feet in her office. And they really started falling in love with him then. They brought him home. And then the next weekend they came and picked him up again because we're still working in the backyard. They came and picked him up again. And that weekend, I think he had a sleepover. So my dog has sleepovers. My dog has play dates now. And he goes and he visits these people. And every so often, my husband will be talking to the husband, and he'll be like, you guys want Hank this weekend? And he comes back and says yes or no, and they take him. So this time when we went on vacation, they actually took him for the week, which I don't know how it went. I haven't really heard how it went. They returned him this morning, so he's back. He comes back smelling like a girl. I don't know what they do to him, but comes back smelling like a girl. And it's funny to me that this dog, who was so bereft and so sad about being left at the Humane Society, he missed his family so much. And it took him at least a week of living in our house before he felt comfortable with us and started to see us as his new home kind of thing. And now he's got 2 homes. And it makes me feel all warm and fuzzy, because we know already that if something happens, he's got a home with our friends and they will keep him. And they've actually said that they don't know if they can actually get a dog now, because there's no way they can find another dog that is as much of a gentleman as Hank. And they love that when their daughter goes running, she's early teens, when she goes out for a run by herself, they don't worry about her at all, because they're pretty sure Hank scares anyone away that might want to harm her. They said that when the kids were roughhousing a bit, and Hank went like between them and split them up. He didn't get vicious about it. He just put himself in between them so that they couldn't fight, right? And couldn't be mean to each other. And so it's quite interesting that he's been such a really good dog. And you hear so many horror stories about dogs that people have adopted. And we got lucky. We got extremely lucky. Actually, my cat, we got really lucky with both of my cats from the Humane Society. I don't know if it's us, or if we've just been really lucky for some weird reason, or if we're just good at picking out animals that are going to fit with us. But I have never regretted adopting him. It was a year in July or August since we'd adopted him, and he's just such a part of our family now that I couldn't imagine having life without him. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about today, is the way I got Hank and how much he's come to mean to us and how lucky he is to have 2 homes. Hopefully I'll have some bookish topics soon. I think I'm going to probably do another book tag here soon. But yeah, we will talk to you soon. Have a great day. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and see you soon.